This time on Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm going to reenact exactly what I did the first time I played this game and reached this point. So, I checked the vending machine, saw that there was nothing there, and then I looked over here because I remembered seeing Johnny run by, and I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with Johnny right now, so I ran to the church.
We all need a little Jesus after witnessing Johnny still alive.
But here's the thing. When you go talk to Johnny, he tells you where to find Kyrie.
So you need to talk to him.
Yeah, and that triggers Kyrie being at the church. If you go to the church before talking to Johnny, she's just not there.
Oopsie doodle.
So I wound up having to run back and forth from the church to Johnny and then back again twice.
You see, they say that there's a benevolent God, but how can there be one when Johnny didn't die in the plate crash, but so many other people did?
No, you know what the real tragedy is? I think his father survived because he was at the Honeybee Inn cheating on his wife. So, yeah.
See, Johnny. Needs to be more of a lech.
I mean, he was hanging around Sector 6 for a good while, so... So I think there's a chocobo along the way as well here.
Yeah, the thing about this, Lou was talking about how if you head to one area before doing another thing, then nothing happens. I ended up going to the church early anyway because I prioritized unlocking the chocobo quick travel spots. So I was just kind of all over the place for even doing side quests because I realized, oh, okay, if I just unlock quick travel now, then when I do side quests, I can just like head immediately over there.
Yeah. The other thing is that this chocobo is like the one chocobo that doesn't actually trigger a battle when you unlock it, so...
Yeah.
But, I apologize for that dead silence 10 seconds ago because, viewers, I'm sorry, but my microphone almost fell off of its boom stand. Or, more specifically, the boom stand almost fell off of the desk. So...
I've had that happen to me 3 times in the past year.
So, like, I just panicked, slammed my finger down on the mute button.
I was gonna say, we didn't even hear it. So you were like Quicksilver on that fucking mute button.
But, like, okay. So here we are at the church, and you might have noticed me, like, running circles around Aerith's garden for no reason in like 2 parts ago. That was because when I read the note and saw that it said medicinal flowers from Aerith, my first thought was, oh, so I turn my ass around and go back to her house. No, you need to go all the way to the church for this.
I don't know what makes these flowers different from the other flowers she has, but whatever.
If you step on them, a crazy woman comes and says, no, you can't step on the flowers, even though all these other enemies can step on the flowers.
In Advent Children, if you remember, there is, like, at the very end, the flowers get destroyed, and there's water underneath, and it turns out that the water underneath has magical geostigma healing powers.
Our magic healing spooge.
I always figured it was just Aerith doing something to the water right then and there, and not necessarily that the water was already.
But the church
magical.
itself was always a bit of a mystery because we never actually got like context for what religion the church is even connected to.
Korean
all we know
fire.
about the church now actually comes from its description in a loading screen, of all things. It is a church that is of mysterious origin that was already here when Midgar was built. It now has a failed Shinra rocket lodged in its roof, but it wasn't actually built as part of Midgar. So that's interesting.
Ooh.
I always feel, with exception to 10, because that was kind of a big part of its themes, whenever there is an aspect of religion in Final Fantasy, it's not so much a specific creed or belief. It's more like you're just, I don't know, wishing well for the planet or some other shit. Not necessarily.
Well, that's true.
Is
The church in the slums is interesting because it's the only church in the game world. Like you never see another one. So it's like, okay, where did this church come from? People obviously know what a church is, but churches don't seem to be a normal aspect of their world. So, like, is it?
I think part of that has to do with the fact that churches are like a really big thing for a world's mythology. Like it takes a lot of world building to explain a religion, I guess. And so having a random out of nowhere church is kind of just strange, you know?
Yeah, but like in Dragon Quest, like there are churches all over the place. They're actively manned by priests who save your game and resurrect your party members. So like you might not necessarily find out much about the religion they're tied to, but it's an active religion that everyone follows. In this case, it's a church that for all we know might be tied to a recently dead religion. And, you know, the only thing that we know about it for sure is that it's one of the few places in Midgar where flowers can grow, so there's something special about the location.
Again, the magic healing spoon under the floorboards.
Yeah, but, like, is it tied to the ancients directly? Is it a religion related to the planet? Because Cosmo Canyon has that kind of thing going on, even if it doesn't have any churches. But it's just a question that's left unanswered. And it's unlike just mentioning fascism offhandedly and giving no historical context for it.
God damn it.
Unlike that, it's a question that looks like it's been left deliberately open. So I can dig it.
Wait, but see, I also got the idea that everybody in Cosmo Canyon smokes a lot of pot.
Yeah, especially based on what's his name, Guggenheim.
Wasn't that basically the abridged version of Cosmo Canyon?
Oh, was it? I don't know. I didn't get that far in the abridged series.
Yeah, it basically just goes all in on that joke.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, I forget I need to clarify which Final Fantasy Abridged I'm talking to, because before Machine Abridged...
The Team 4-star one.
Yeah, because before Machine Abridged, there was another Final Fantasy VII Abridged series that I don't think ever got finished. But it was pretty funny while it lasted. Low quality, but funny.
I always tied the church to the ancients. But the only thing I have to go off of that is Aerith, because Aerith is the only one that tended to the building.
Like if you go back,
I think the church is. I was just gonna say real quick, the church is more there to just be symbolic of like Aerith's purity. I think like that's kind of its story purpose.
Well, I mean, you can talk about its narrative purpose all you like. I'm talking about where it fits in the universe, which is a more important question in this remake than in the original, because everything is presented to you in a more like serious manner, so you expect to be able to find answers to those kinds of questions. Anyway, I finally remembered that I had the steel pincers weapon, so I'm upgrading it and equipping it so that I can get its weapon skill. In the course of this, I actually discovered why you might actually want Barret as a melee character, because he hits like a fucking truck and can stun lock enemies like nobody's business. But there is a problem with introducing the steel pincers and Barret's melee options this late in the game, and it's simply that you don't really have any situations where you have Aerith and Barret available at the same time until like the final boss. So Barret is, for the rest of the game, more or less your only ranged option.
The Colosseum stuff, maybe.
The Colosseum stuff at the very end, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's more than just like main story related.
I mean,
stuff,
I know you get the opportunity to choose your party members in like the last dungeon of the game, so you might be able to use melee Barret and ranged Aerith at the same time there, but you don't get a lot of room to do that. So the game doesn't really encourage you to use Barret's melee options. Maybe they'll have more of a chance to shine in part 2, but as it stands, it's a bit annoyingly paced. I do recommend trying his melee options and seeing what you can do with them, because it actually significantly changes his playstyle.
He's too slow for my liking when he's on melee.
Yeah, his charge overcharge. Well, now you know my pain in Streets of Rage 2, where everyone's choosing max. But like in melee mode, his charge overcharge becomes charge overrun. The charge ability can be significantly increased by his charging uppercut, which, apart from being an uppercut attack where he charges and throws the enemy up in the air, also charges his charge meter. So yeah, and I think he can still use that in range mode. But when you hit overrun, instead of firing on the enemy, you charge at them like a bull and just like drive them into the wall and deal like multiple hits of damage. It's pretty handy.
Are you here for the magical healing spooch too, Kyrie?
What is she even doing here anyway? Anyway, Kyrie, not very likable.
No, she's pretty insufferable.
Like your introduction to her is her trying to con money out of people by spreading Shinra propaganda as news from the plate. And obviously it doesn't work because you can't just shout news out on a street corner and expect people to pay you. So
Yeah, she's not very bright.
no, she's not. I mean, she's clever. She sets a trap for the Shinra soldiers who are following her and successfully convinces you into being the trap for her. But she's also like got that really ditzy anime girl trope feeling, which amusingly used to be Yuffie's thing, but now apparently isn't because they're playing Yuffie straight. So what is Kyrie here? Is she the stand-in classic Yuffie while we move on to modern, better written Yuffie in Intergrade, or what?
Well, my guess, having not seen anything from, because Intergrade's not out yet, my guess is we'll still get some ditzy Yuffie. It might be more of like a act, maybe. Like, oh, I'm just, ditzy anime girl. You don't need to worry about me.
Please ignore me while I pick your pocket.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think we might see some of that.
We'll handle Shinra if you give
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's not like the Yuffie that we've seen for Intergrade is lacking in comedy value. It just seems like she's being played like more nuanced than before, which fits with the theme of Final Fantasy VII Remake, because in Remake everyone is more nuanced. So I'm happy to see that happening at last, rather than Yuffie appearing on screen for 20 seconds so that she can call Sid a sexist.
It was better than fascist, so.
That added a lot. Well, I mean, you don't really have... if you were to ask me to explain how these people knew the term sexist, I would say it's because they know what men and women
Can
are.
we not? Can we actually not? I don't want to
go. Lewis is like in his mind, well, I got 20 minutes to kill.
Like, when the line of dialogue saying the word fascist happened, I'm my first thought was that what they actually said in Japanese, or was that the dub writers taking a liberty? So that's how it stuck out to me. But in any case, the third Chocobo.
Because as we all know, fascism does not exist in
God
Japan.
damn, I completely forgot about the Arby's Chocobo remix.
Well, Ted, I'm pretty sure the English word fascism isn't one that they would say in Japanese, because it's kind of hard to say even in English.
Well, they have a word that means fascism.
Maybe.
Can we not?
I'm like, maybe they do. I'm not sure. A lot of the time when they don't originally have a word that means something that we mean, they usually just take the English word. So they might actually just say the English word, the Englished word. How would you say fascism?
Oh my god!
Let's not.
You're making me go to Google Translate.
Fashizumu is how you say it in Japanese.
Something like that. Like if they meant that, they might just say the English word. But I don't know. Like I'm wondering what the original Japanese line is. That's all. Like, is this am I actually having a quibble over the way the game itself was written, or did the dubs just like not think that one through? I don't know. But anyway, the third Chocobo. You sure we don't want to go for another half hour on this tangent, because this boss is going to last a while.
Well, it's not quite the same. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. Not involving fascism, but the idea that a dub sort of takes liberties with the translation and in a way kind of puts the scene or exchange in a different sort of context or feeling.
That's an aspect of language that you can't really avoid, which is why localization exists at all. Which is why all Evangelion fans are really mad at Studio Kara.
There's a character because my only memory is like I think immediately is in Final Fantasy XIV. There's a character that helps you towards the tail end of Realm Reborn in the beginning of Heaven's Sword, Harshaphon. Very jovial, friendly. He's an absolute bro.
Yeah, I remember him.
In the Japanese lines, though, he is way more like into the Warrior of Light. Like, I'm pretty sure if my character was not married already, he'd ask for my hand in marriage, basically.
That's just kind of an unfortunate thing about Japanese writing is they do a lot more. It's more of a trope to be her, they're gay.
That would be that would be interesting because like don't you play a Lalafell and isn't he like the tall elf race that's like taller than everything else?
Yeah, basically. I have to get a step ladder just to reach his knees.
Well, okay. Yeah, I remember him. He's interesting. Like
But my point is though, like
he's like the most misleading first impression of the Ishgardian people you'll ever have.
You're not wrong. But can you guys think of any other time where a game in localization where the context was changed in a way that you was kind of taken aback by or not a fan of or maybe thought it was an improvement?
I mean,
it happens all the time in Ace Attorney.
I could spend all day here complaining about Netflix Ava.
I could tell you some horror stories about old school Sailor Moon.
Cousins. The most talent of the group.
They changed Uranus and Neptune into cousins rather than girlfriends, but like you can clearly see that they're closer than any cousin should be. So anyone with half a brain just sort
because I bought the cousin I bought the cousins thing like episode 1 and then like that night when I was going downstairs to get something in the fridge. Hey, wait a minute.
No, Lewis, did you get to the talent line from the old Deke dub that obviously got corrected in the
I haven't gotten that far in the Viz dub, no. But there's a channel on YouTube, a priceless treasure called Sailor Moon Says, that consists of nothing but like 1 minute to 2 minute long clips from the old Deep dub.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So basically, for those in the comments who don't know the reference I'm making, so basically in the Japanese version, at the school they're doing a play and one of the girls, one of the hoity-toity popular ones is kind of going, it's like, oh, I should play the lead role because I have the biggest boobs, basically. Because, haha, teenagers and stupid things like that. In the Deke version, they obviously couldn't say that because, again, kids' TV. So they changed it to, I have the most talent of the group, as they kind of closes up on her chest.
Oh.
I mean, the Deke version of Sailor Moon did a lot of stuff to the point where they flipped the screen whenever there was cars on the road so that they would be driving on the right side of the road for the American audience. And I feel like that's going a little far. I mean, granted, yes, I think ultimately changing the words boob to talent, while a little bit like think of the children, it's fine.
It's more like it's funny in the way it was presented, in the same way that the cousins thing is funny in the way it's presented. Like they changed the wording, but they didn't change anything surrounding the wording, so it's transparently like you can see through it as easily as you can see through the slingshot in the final season of Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's clearly a painted on slingshot and it's supposed to be a gun.
So for me, when it comes to that kind of stuff, because normally this boils down to censorship, which it's more nuanced than that, obviously. But for me, when they change...
It depends on what they're doing, exactly.
Yeah, but for me, the change is more about how well the change is done versus what they're necessarily changing. Because compare something like Yu-Gi-Oh! GX and Ace Attorney, where in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, in the dub, they do a very bad job changing this shit. And in Ace Attorney, they clearly put a lot of effort into changing it. So
it's not even that. It's more that 4Kids has its own very obvious where it's okay and versus where it's not. Whereas something like Pokemon, where it's fine, because it's like, oh, you changed the race balls into a sandwich. Okay, who cares? It's the same difference, really. It's not really censorship. Whereas when they tried to, dub One Piece, where it's like they changed the entire meaning of scenes by saying, oh, the character didn't actually die, they're in the dungeon or whatever, but even though we never see them again, it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's
We never did find out what that next dimension was.
the Shadow Realm.
The funny thing is, there is actually an arc in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where the stakes are people's souls being trapped. So deciding to turn all of the death in the series into the Shadow Realm just sort of made the Seal of Orichalcos seem like redundant as all.
Honestly, the Shadow Realm is, when you think about it, worse than death, because it's basically confirming that hell exists and you're stuck in it for forever.
Ted, tell that to the PTA. Okay? Please explain that to them. But anyway, what was I? The thing about the Sailor Moon dub, though, is that the way they changed it just resulted in everything being 20 times funnier once you were in on the joke. Because now cousins is like a euphemism.
Oh yeah, I use cousins to refer to lesbians all the time.
There are these scenes where they're like really close to each other, locking hands, like not even in like the traditional hand-holdy way, but that one where your palms are against each other and your fingers are intertwined all romantically.
Yeah,
and
as cousins do.
As cousins do. Okay, I see the Chocobo, and I immediately stop and just start drip feeding myself regular potions.
This potion wonderful?
Man, delicious.
This is like drinking the red potion in front of that old lady in Majora's Mask. You realize that? You gotta
no,
try
because
some of
I
this.
know
It's
the
amazing.
moment I talk to this Chocobo, a vicious monster is going to appear and rip my face off. I want to be prepared. All right, I'm ready. I like how they go back and forth between work and queer in the
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Quay is when it's calm. Work is, oh shit. It's
Yeah.
like something's happening.
as opposed to originally where work is when it was Final Fantasy VII and queer is when it was
Yeah.
everything else.
And then it was work when it was attacking.
Anyway, this boss is a fucking headache. It's called Tripolis, and basically you can stagger it, and it will remain staggered for about a picosecond.
Half a second.
About a picosecond.
What's Populous? Why does it want me to try it?
Triopolis.
You know-
Tripopolis.
I'm thinking about Barret here, and rock paper scissors against Barret with this gun on is good. The easiest thing in the goddamn world. All right, Barret, loser gets to pay for the dinner. Damn you, Cloud.
then he just uses his other hand. It's like, gotcha now, bitch.
No, dude, he has the cannonball, which would be rock.
Yeah. The thing is that you can tell which
No.
one he's going to do because he has to unscrew the hand and put the other
No,
one on.
no.
he just-
Barrett's that dickhead that does rock, paper, gun.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn it, Barret, you asshole. It's cheating.
Well, he doesn't.
It's cheating, I tell
He
you.
doesn't have an arm that matches paper. He has rock. He has scissors. He has gun.
right.
That's all he has.
And paper come out of a... Come on, that's ridiculous.
Or you could just be Snake from the Jokey video from Metal Gear Solid 3 where he's doing long distance rock,
Oh, he
paper,
does
scissors
all
with
three
the
of them.
boss.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
dirty trick. And then he gets fucking nuked for his troubles. Like what a sore loser.
Anyway, the gimmick of Tripopolis is that they have this move called Dance, where they dance, and if you attack them while they're dancing, they split off into a clone called Proto-Tripopolis. So the proper way to fight these things is to attack them while they're dancing, and force the clone to appear, and then kill the clone, which renders the original vulnerable or damaged somehow. But I don't really feel like waiting for them to use the dance move all that often, so I'm resorting to Plan B, which is melee Barret stun locking the fuck out of them until they die from attrition. It works because, like, melee Barret can stun these things like without fail consistently, and like it takes a while to whittle down their HP that way, but they won't be able to fight back. So the only danger is the other two, which with Barret isn't much of a danger because he just has that much HP. God damn it. But yeah. So I'm trying to figure out which one of these fuckers is the Proto-Tripopolis so I can kill it. Like, they are inevitably going to spawn the clones, so go after them whenever they appear. It will make your life easier.
Do you have to kill the clone for bestiary stuff?
I believe so.
I think
yeah.
so if you're going for completion, but by this point I already have all the in-game bestiary related objectives filled. so I don't have to worry about it. I'm just using assess to make sure that I know how to do things. But anyway, yeah, Tripolis, it's a boss fight. It certainly is a boss fight.
Mini boss. Doesn't even get its own music.
Ugh.
Hey, Chocobo, you want to help?
It's scared, Jed.
Oh, yeah, because we're not scared of fighting random scorpion ghosts.
Look at how fast that meter is draining. I froze time immediately upon staggering, and it's already down. Why do I even bother?
Is stagger... Maybe there's something going on where the stagger goes down normal speed when you're...
No.
No? Okay. They're just staggered.
They want you to hit them when they're dancing and kill the clones. That's the strategy.
Oh, okay. You see, with these kinds of things, even though it might feel faster to do it the brute forced way, a lot of the time I found it is actually faster to do it the intended way.
Oh yeah, sure, but like it's not fun waiting for the Tripolis to use the dance move is the thing. Damn it! Oh, I actually did hit the thing with that. It was just reduced damage.
Well, you hit the other one.
Okay. Well, I hit something. Of course, they also use the Aroga spell, which is annoying, but...
You'll say it is a really long cast time, though.
It's a really long cast time, but the actual damage part of the spell seems to go off faster than the earlier levels, which is interesting. Not fast enough that you can hit the enemy, but fast enough that they can hit you. Ugh. Alright.
Woo. 10 damage.
Yay, slow motion high kick. Okay, so, yeah.
Oh, just die already.
Ow.
Is Tifa your favorite character to play? Or are you just on her because?
I'm on her because right now.
Okay.
She had a limit break.
And C is almost dead.
Oh, it was probably because Barret got stunned, so I needed to switch to someone else. Otherwise, I would just be standing around with my thumb up my butt for a while.
With the atomic scissors, holy shit.
He does have an actual hand, you know.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he forgets that sometimes.
Okay, so question for you all. If you had to have your hand turned into a gun arm, would you want your dominant hand or your non-dominant hand?
Non-dominant.
Yeah.
Non-dominant.
Okay,
I
because
will-
here's the thing. I would figure that having your dominant hand in the handgun would make it, like, easier to shoot the thing and give you better aim and shit. But then, like, you can't, you know, use your dominant hand to write or to play video games.
Either way, you're going to have to train it to do something.
Well, in as far as, like, aim, it's not quite... Like, there's no real advantage as far as aiming goes.
No, your whole arm is dominant, not just the hand.
No, but you can point just as effectively with both hands, can't you?
Yeah, I mean,
you could, but I also feel that you would be psychologically more confident with your dominant hand if you were aiming with it.
Maybe.
Not to mention, since you use your dominant hand your whole life, you use that arm a lot more too. So the muscles in it are just stronger.
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, that is a thing that would just, you know, even itself out over time as you were lugging this heavy thing around. But my point is, like, dominant and non-dominant hands, that's more of a motor skills thing. Whereas with the gun arm, you're actually firing it with the other hand anyway. So...
Well, I mean, I always kind of assume that, like, your hand's not chopped off. Like, I always kind of assume it's like Samus's arm cannon, where there's, like, a little...
Oh, well, in Barret and Dine's case, the hand absolutely was chopped off. Or shot, shot off in this case, you know.
Never mind.
Yeah, Barret doesn't have that thing on by choice.
I mean, he could get a robot hand.
He does in Advent Children.
It's a robot hand that turns into a gun. Best of both worlds.
Yes.
Oh, man. Technology sure jumped forward by quite a lot in the last 2 years.
Great until you gotta masturbate.
So, like... Actually, off topic.
No,
hold on.
John,
I think Lewis has a rebuttal.
In Devil May Cry 5, one of the joke DLC items is a massager hand that Nico is sure Kyrie will like.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Is it shaped the way I think it's shaped?
When you use it in game, it heals you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
It's a hand, Ted, but it's got built-in massaging capabilities.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought it was something else.
It is. Like the subtext is very, very clear.
I think at that point it stops being subtext.
When Kyrie, when Nico gives it to you, she's like, Kyrie, I'll love it. Catch my drift. So like, yeah.
It's called Sweet Surrender.
Yes, it is. A robot hand that was built for Nero specifically.
Anyway, you're off topic, Ted.
Oh yeah.
No, I want to talk about the dildo hand.
I was just going to say it's weird to me that the only instance of technology in the original trilogy being more advanced than the prequel trilogy is like Luke's robot hand, which just looks like a normal hand because I assume Mark Hamill didn't want to have a prop robot hand the entire time.
Well,
I mean,
what they did is they only did it for the one scene. That's why he wears a glove basically through the entirety of Return of the Jedi.
There are other things too, but it's not as obvious as the hand.
Like I'm struggling to think of any other ones.
It's a small thing, but light speed travel in the prequel trilogy required the use of a external module for flying in ships. Those are not a thing in the original trilogy because light speed travel is now pretty much
Also,
out in a lot of the ships.
Also the hologram technology got better.
Yes.
I always kind of assumed the hologram technology was mostly the same, but I guess they do bigger holograms in the later ones.
In the Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, they just weren't thinking ahead to what they might do with future movies because, like, they wanted to get across that Luke had this robot prosthetic, but it was easier to just have him do his hand. So they showed someone dicking with some machinery and poking his fingers and then just let him wear a glove. Have him get his hand shot at one point so that you can show mechanical damage for 2 seconds. Then when they started making new movies later on and they wanted to do fancier things with special effects, they realized, hey, we can actually do a physical robot hand with CGI and it'll be excellent. So they did that.
But the funny thing is that they do the same thing where Anakin just wears a glove through all of episode 3.
Yeah, and then
so it doesn't even matter.
And then when they went to do the sequel trilogy, they decided to have Luke continue using the fancy robot hand because it was cooler to look at, I suppose. So,
I don't even remember them bringing up the robot hand in episode 8, but I have not seen.
I mean,
it in a couple
he
years,
lays the robot hand on R2D2's head in the
R2.
flashback. It's like clearly drawn attention to, you know.
Oh, okay. I mean, again, I haven't seen any of those.
I guess the plastic fell off.
It's like one of those things where, yeah, you remember that Luke lost a hand? This is a guy who lost a hand, so it must be Luke.